Good morning and welcome to our EJA program and from Suazo Business Center. And I am honored today because our special guests are amazing. And please ask questions or anything that you have going on. I am just, again, thrilled to be able to welcome these amazing women, Rebecca Chavez-Houck and Josie Valdez. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Ladies, this is amazing that we have you here today, and I just want to say hello from our friends, and we already have folks saying hello. We have Marta here saying buenos dias, maravillosas panelistas, saludos in English. It's wonderful panelists, and she sends greetings. Awesome.
Hola, buenos dias.
So good morning. And we're just excited to have you here. And we want to make sure that people know, if they don't know you, because you guys are famous. I know this. So we want to make sure that they know what fabulous women you are. And so we're going to start with introductions and just take it away.
Oh, good.
Okay, very good. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Well, I was just going to start by saying that I'm so excited to be with you, Antonella, but especially with my friend Josie. Josie and I go way, way back, and I think this is part of the conversation we're going to have with people today about getting to know others in the community that are passionate about the issues that you're passionate about. Josie and I were involved with the Hispanic Women's Association in the late 80s and early 1990s. We used to do women's conferences together, and we had this wonderful group of women that we would put together these events to get women engaged in their community. So we've been doing this for many, many years. And again, what you'll find out is as you do these types of efforts, you in the community, is you'll get to meet people that will become your friends and compatriots and co-advocates for years to come. Luchadores, all of us, we fight and we work together. I've been involved in nonprofit management and in advocacy for 30 plus years. I've worked for nonprofit organizations like Centro de la Familia de Utah, Girl Scouts of Utah, Museum of Natural History. And then my most recent effort was I served in the Utah State Legislature for 10 years. But it all started with working with people like Josie in the community and getting active and trying to make change in our community. And then I eventually ran for the legislature. And now I am trying to help others who are thinking of doing it with this effort and advocacy and community engagement and inclusion with my public affairs firm, Aspira Public Affairs. So that's what I'm up to, but what you will find is great people along your journey, like Josie.
Oh,
Great.
Tremendous.
Muchas gracias, Rebecca. Sí, nos hemos conocido muchos años. We've known each other many, many years. The important thing is we got together as kindred spirits, mujeres que querían buscar progreso para nosotras y otras mujeres en nuestra comunidad many, many years ago. What I want to share with everybody is that you don't have to wait to be a, quote, famous person to get involved, because when we first got started, we were starting our careers. We were trying to find ways for us Latinos in our community to be recognized. We felt exclusion. We felt that we needed to do something to help us move forward. Y unidos is how we were able to do it. But we started out as young mothers. We started out in our careers and, moving up in our careers, working in getting our education, trabajando duro y sufriendo para avanzar. And so any of you who are out there that are just getting started, it's those little step by step para llegar a donde tenemos influencia, where we have influence and a bit of power and a seat at the table and a voice at the table, which is important. So I've been involved in the community for a long, long time. My husband is Representative Mark Archuleta Wheatley, who serves in the legislature as one of our few Latinos that are providing a voice for our community up there. I have served as vice chair of the Utah State Democratic Party. But I come from raíces humildes. My mom was widowed when she was 25. I was only 8 years old. We lived in public housing. Nuestra comida venía from the government cheese, the big slabs of bologna, the sacks of rice, the dried powdered milk that we mixed with water. Yeah, see, that was our leche for the day. So we struggled through, but my mama was determined to move forward, and y al fin, yo, por la gracia de Dios, have been able to reach a point where I feel that I'm a contributor along with my hermanas and my hermanos in our community. So, para todos ustedes que están luchando, arriba y adelante.
Oh my goodness. And Josie, I know that part of your trayectoria or your journey here has been with the SBA. And I don't know that people know this.
Yes, I worked for the Small Business Administration for about 20 years. Started out as the only Latina woman in my department. Had to struggle through to be heard and have my voice heard. And after several years, I was assistant director of the organization and was only one of 2 women in the whole United States that held the position of directing a business development division within the Small Business Administration. Worked a lot with minority-owned businesses, with women-owned businesses, with young entrepreneurs, raising the awareness in our community de cómo seguir adelante como una empresaria. Got a lot more people to participate in our program for loans and also to participate in our business development program for government contracting, and expanded the role of our minority and women community exponentially. Worked hard. Fíjate, when I first started, my husband didn't know me much because I spend most of my time dedicated to the community. And believe it or not, we had to go to counseling so that the counselor would make me realize that my first role was wife and mother, and the community was second. So it's not all roses, a bed of roses, pero vale la pena.
You know, and wow, just let me go ahead and look at some of the comments that are coming through. And for those of you that would like to comment in the comment section, please do. You have questions for these amazing women. Please also make sure that you're doing those questions on the comment section. We have Claudia Gonzalez says, buenos días. Buenos días, Claudia. And then we have our friend Marta Black saying, true leadership right here. Gracias.
Pues muy bien, muy bien. This group, that, as I understand it, and as Rebecca and I understand, muchas gracias, Antonella, for Suazo Business Center. I served on the board when the center first started, and it's been wonderful to see the Pete Suazo Center grow to today. And it's especially exciting to have a group, ella, empresarias latinas, buscando liderismo y pues buscando un futuro para su negocio y para sus familias. It's very, very exciting.
Wow, you know, we have here another comment. We have Claudia Masal Ponce saying, great to see you, Josie.
Oh, Claudia and I were involved in an organization called Soratames Latinas, an international organization. It's a service sorority for women who want to make an impact in our community. And we decided that it was important that we have a Latina chapter, and we established one of the very few Latina chapters in the whole country, providing service, educational opportunities for women, especially single mothers, in pursuing their educational opportunities. So, mucho gusto, Claudia.
Wow. And of course, we want to once again welcome our Suazo family and thank you for joining us in our Ella conversation. Please ask your questions in the comments section and let's get inspired, or even your comments. So we have here our friend and lovely, lovely person. We have Edward Castro Bennett saying hello, ladies. Hola, ladies.
Hi, Edward.
Hello. Bienvenido.
And in case you all haven't noticed, we speak Spanglish here. We're fluent in that. So you're going to hear us. I mean, we don't even realize it's happening. And so we ask you to please be patient, at least with me, because I mean, every other sentence empiezo a hablar en español.
Pues yo soy tejana, and in Tejana, Spanglish is king.
So you're Tejana, and Rebecca, you're actually homegrown.
Yes. I was born here in Utah. I'm born in Utah, born and raised in Utah. My dad is from Michoacan, Mexico. My mother's folks are from Zacatecas, but she was born in the States. And my father worked for Kennecott for many, many years, and we had a farm in Riverton. So I grew up as a farm girl, but education for my mother in particular was very, very important. So she always encouraged all of us to pursue our interests. Another thing too, kind of talking about being involved in the community. My parents were very actively involved at Centro Cívico Mexicano for a lot of the efforts to help the community back in the 60s. My father was a member of Socio, which was at the time another activist organization that was helping La Comunidad. And they both were very, very active and always helping friends. So that is what I learned as a child, is that you step forward when you see somebody in need, whether it's a friend or someone you know or someone that works on your farm. My mother used to take the farm workers to our doctor whenever they were ill. And this is, it's just what you do. So that is part and parcel. I like to say services in my DNA. Because I saw it exemplified by my parents and their compadres of taking care of each other and taking care of La Comunidad. So that is a lot of what this is about, how you get engaged. It's just taking your passion and stepping forward and knowing your own power. Nuestro poder, it's there. You use it.
Wow. We have here a comment from La Jefa. This is Suazo's executive director, Sylvia Castro, saying, so exciting to have you, Rebecca and Josie. We are honored. And indeed, I add my voice to that. And definitely, what a treat.
I wanted to comment that how important it is to build relationships with one another as women, as Latina women, and support each other. As Rebecca was saying, her mother taught her about service and about being in the community and giving what you can, taking the farm workers to the doctors, etc. On the other hand, my mother only had a 4th grade education. She was raised picking cotton in Arkansas as a farm worker, bracero, during the bracero program. My father didn't graduate from high school, but they had a spirit of service, basically through our church. But my mother taught me that my father died when he was only 29 and I was 8. So I learned from my mother that una mujer, she can do anything. I mean, fix the car, fix the roof, fix the plumbing, bring in the money, work, making it happen. So working together, no hay diferencia if a person is very well educated and very well prepared or just getting started. The important thing is el espíritu de progreso that we have inside of us, finding like individuals and then helping each other grow. So it takes all of us, and I don't want anyone to be discouraged that you have to be at a certain point to become civically engaged or politically engaged. You just need to have el corazón y las ganas.
Well, it looks
So,
like we may have a comment here of a question. So hopefully, this is Martha. Hopefully, she's going to let us know, right, what she'd like to ask. So, Marta, go right ahead in the comments. Make sure that you tell us what you'd like to know. But in the meantime, once again, we invite you to please comment. Please, if you have questions for these amazing women, this is a great opportunity. So Marta says, why, as Latinas, is representation important? Why does it matter to see Latinas in all fields? Wow, it's an amazing question.
Well, they always say representation matters, but I will tell you that, from the get-go, if we think about the foundation of this particular nation, that it's a representative democracy and that individuals are elected at a variety of levels, but also appointed or asked to contribute at a variety of levels to weigh in on what happens in our neighborhoods, what happens in our schools, what happens in our cities and our state and our nation. And if there's only one perspective presented, that of a majority or a dominant culture, but yet everybody is affected by the decisions that are being made, whether it's, where the school is located or where streets are located or whether there's lights on your street or who is the police chief, all of these different things that are made in decisions that are made at the levels of government and in our community. If there's a dominant culture that is driving the car, they're making all of the decisions and they see things only through their experience, then you're leaving many, many people behind that are impacted by those decisions. And so in our community, where we have, in some cases, in some cities and areas, we've got, 30% Latino population, and at least 15 to 18% statewide, but yet the people that are making the decisions are from a dominant culture and don't have those perspectives, don't have our experiences, our lived experiences, then the decisions that are made will not reflect our needs and will not respond to our needs. So it's very, very important at all levels, not just an elected office. I have the privilege to serve in elective office, but there are boards and commissions, there are community groups that are always looking for our voice. And it's just, that is why it's important, because decisions are being made about our lives. Decisions are being made about our children's lives and our parents' lives and our community's lives. And unless we have a voice in the way those decisions are being made, they will not reflect our needs and not respond to our needs.
very good, Rebecca. That is a wonderful lead-in to the subject that we have been asked to address today, and that is basically civic engagement and political engagement. So I'd like to start off simply by sharing what civic engagement is, and it's really, really simple. Basically, it's participating in activities that impact on our community, and that's, as Rebecca said, in all levels of our community, or participating in activities that address social issues. And we can do that in a whole lot of ways. Now, when you're in business for yourself, and many of you are empresarias and business owners and starting your business, one of the first things that you have to pay attention to is your business. A lot of people would come to me when they were starting a business and they would want to get involved in a lot of other activities. And I would always say, you're investing time, money, and energy in your business, and you need to pay attention to the bottom line and move your business forward. Ya despuesito, when you've got your business established at the grassroots and you have a little bit of extra time, you can begin to look at getting involved in issues of your community, getting involved in business activities, addressing social issues. Now, one of the things that I do have to say is a lot of times this can go hand in hand, because getting involved in your community can bring you business. So that's important too, as you establish contacts for people to buy your service or buy your product, know about what it is that you're offering to the community. What need are you fulfilling, or what desire are you fulfilling with your business, whether it's a beauty shop, tamales, fixing cars, a bakery, lo que sea. You know, a lot of times getting involved in organizations, people know you, they begin to trust you, you begin to pass your flyers or your business cards around, they begin to buy your product, and so your business is strengthened. And so taking an active role in organizations sometimes is also very, very beneficial for your business, and you can share your ideas and your input with these organizations too, and then you begin to build coalitions, and that's very important. So civic engagement is basically becoming aware of some of the issues in your community that are impacting your community. What understanding issues that for instance, is the lighting bad in your community? Is there a city council that can address those issues? If you have a business that maybe they're not picking up the trash properly, what department do you get in contact with so that they can help you out with that, and then maybe getting involved in solving that problem? Civic engagement is basically, it's very simple. It's what are some of the problems that exist in your community? What are some of the social issues that are impacting your community, and how can you get involved at the proper time when you have the time and the energy and the capacity to get involved, and then getting involved. And that takes a little bit of time. It takes some research, and it takes ahorita with the pandemic, it's a little hard because we can't get out and do these things right now. So one of the things that you can do is to begin to explore what can be done when the pandemic is over and you're able to go to meetings like the City Council, the Chamber of Commerce, different organizations. But it's a beginning to engage in forums like this one and finding out information and getting prepared for the future. Es como una gallina poniendo un huevito. You know, you gotta lay the egg, you gotta sit on the egg, you gotta wait till it's ready, then it's gotta peck out, y luego ahí viene el pollito. So it's that kind of a progression for civic engagement.
One thing that I'll add to that, Josie, is, even though right now we're in a very interesting time in terms of that we can't, for example, invite people to our business maybe to meet our workers or to learn about where our businesses are located, it's still very important to develop relationships with individuals that might be making decisions about your community. And that can be, it's being done virtually, whether it's city council meetings or planning commissions meetings, or as Edward's mentioning right here, the Utah State Legislature is meeting right now, and there's ways to weigh in. But what I wanted to address is, even when those organizations aren't meeting, when the legislature isn't meeting, it's very important to get to know decision makers ahead of time. That way, when you do need their help or you do want to bring something to their attention, you've already have a relationship developed with them. I used to see, when I was in the legislature, constituents in the grocery store all the time, or at the coffee shop, or at the park, or even when I was walking my dog. And people would say to me, oh, there's this thing that I found out. I am really concerned about this particular issue. And we would have a conversation about it. And so they may bring it up at that point, or even just talk about what's happening in their lives or with their business or their area of the neighborhood. So that when they did need me, I'm thinking, oh, yes, I know Antonella. She and I see each other at the grocery store. She and I have had conversations about what's happening at the school or down the street. So I had a way of connecting who she is, the contributions that she's making, the commitment that she had to our community, about her family, where she lives. And if you start to have those conversations when you don't necessarily need the help of your city council person or your school board member or your legislator, then when you do need them or you do want to weigh in on an issue, that relationship is already there. I used to find it extremely, extremely helpful when new people would move into my district. They would email me. Some of them would email me and just say, hi, I'm Antonella, and I just moved into your district. This is what my family is. This is how many kids I have, or this is, what I do for a living. I work for the Pete Suazo Business Center. And just wanted to let you know that I moved into your district, and issues that are usually concerning me are about Latino-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses. If you have any questions about businesses in your neighborhood, I'd love to be able to provide you some information. And as a legislator, I would always make a note. Oh, Antonella, she works for Suazo Business Center. So then if a bill came up or something came up about those types of issues, I could say, oh my gosh, I bet you Antonella could give me some information about how this will affect the people that she works with. So, but if I wouldn't have known that if she hadn't reached out to me when it wasn't the legislative session or when it wasn't asking me for something. So after it's good. We'll talk a little bit about corresponding with the legislature and talking to your legislator about issues that you care about. But I'm always very strongly encouraging people to reach out to your city council member, your school board member, your legislator when it's not the legislative session, and let them know a little bit about you and what you can provide to them, the assistance and information you can provide to them, so that when they do need you or you need them, then they already know who you are. Very, very, very important.
That's wonderful. I mean, and it's really how it really does work. It's just creating those relationships. We have a comment and question from our friend Edward, and Edward's asking or saying, our legislature is meeting right now. Is there something our comunidad can do right now while they're up on the hill? And I think part of your answer or your comment addressed this, but
yes. Yes,
great
it was
comment.
Yeah, it was about what always be in relationship and always be in communication with the legislature. But right now we are right in the middle of the legislative session, and for those of you that aren't familiar, the legislative session in Utah runs 45 days. Different states do different things. Some states meet for much longer. Some meet for less time. We are one of the shortest legislative sessions in the country. Some of them meet like 6 months or 60 to 90 days. There are some states that will 1 year work on the budget and then the next year they work on policy or laws. Our state legislature meets for 45 days and they do both. They have to get a budget passed for the state so that all of the agencies have the money that they need for the upcoming year, and they pass bills and policies and new laws. So the legislators are always getting, and I know Josie knows this because Mark is always so busy and I was so busy, getting emails and calls and meetings. Our days would run 18 hours plus, very, very long days. People would send us, we would get hundreds and hundreds of emails on issues. So, the best thing is if you have developed a relationship with your legislator, is to find out how he or she likes to be communicated with. Some people prefer phone calls. Some people prefer text. Some people prefer emails. But don't hesitate to share with your legislator how you feel about something. And I actually have a slide really quickly, if I could show it.
Please do.
Okay.
If you would like to share that, that'd be wonderful. And as a side note, I have to say that I have served with both Josie and Rebecca when we were with the Utah Latino or the Latino Hispanic Legislative Task Force. And many of the folks that actually collaborated there either went on to get elected, Rebecca, and others went to be in certain positions of influence. And it's been interesting to see it looks like it just happened. I mean, and so I'm like, oh my goodness, time just went by. What happened? But it was, something that was tremendous. Here is the slide.
Yes. So just really briefly, and there's a lot here, but a few things I just want to share with people are the following. When you send an email to your legislator, always put in the subject line from a constituent. You can learn who your legislator is by going to the le.utah.gov website. And there's a way that you can plug in your address and it'll tell you who your legislator is. You can communicate with all legislators, but to be very honest with everyone, we as legislators primarily prioritize information and context from our own constituents, the people that live in our community first. So that's why I always say in your subject line, you put from a constituent and what you want them to do. Do you want them to vote yes or no on a bill? Always do a civil salutation, address them by their title. Councilman Valdumoros, Representative Chavez-Houck. Tell them where you live. You can put your address, but at least tell them the area so that they really know that you are a legislator, and maybe provide some more specificity what you're wanting them to do. The next thing you might want to do, because legislators review hundreds and hundreds of bills, and they may not be familiar with what you're talking about. Sometimes people would send me an email and just say, vote yes on HB 50. And I'm like, I don't know what that bill is. And so I would have to research it. But if you just tell them, this is what this bill does, and then why it's important to you. We as legislators or other public officials, they want to know why you care about this. And so a lot of times you will get people saying, you should write to your legislator and here's what we ask you to say. It's okay to do a little bit of that, but legislators want to know why you care about this issue. And then always add your name, and then if you can provide your address. And this is just a kind of an example of sometimes we would get very mean emails. And this is an example of a not so appropriate example. Are you people nuts? I elected you to represent me. Caps, very threatening language. There's false information about the bill. And no information as to who this guy is, if he's really my constituent. So I just like to share that with people that, to be brief, to provide information, and to let your legislator, your council person, or your school board member know that you are a constituent. And you can, I think this is some additional information from the League of Women Voters about, how to contact people, identify your information. And here's the legislative website. It says how to get information on legislative issues. There's the League of Women Voters, but here's le.utah.gov. And I can share this information with Antonella. Maybe they may want to put that as a resource in the future. But these are just ways that you can communicate with the legislature. And it's right now, it's very important because people necessarily can't go up on the Hill. They are saying that people can come up with social distancing and the mask, but it's probably easier to do it by email. Great. And I don't know what Mark's been experiencing this year, Josie, that's different.
Well, what's different is the fact that there's no one in the gallery, and the lobbyists are precluded also, which he thinks is really good because he's able to focus on more of the work that needs to be done, and everybody is communicating via Zoom. One of the things that I can say is first of all, thank Rebecca for her public service. It's when you're an elected official, it's a heck of a lot of work, and it's a heck of a lot of time and money. It takes away from your family, from your relationship. You don't see your kids as much. You don't see your friends as much because it does take so much time in order to be effective. And I see that with my husband, and in the work that I do in supporting him and in supporting other issues through the legislature. We're going to spend a little bit more time talking about how to get politically involved in various ways. I'd like to just spend a little time just talking a little bit more about civic engagement, because getting in touch with your public officials is very important, but there's a lot of more simple ways that cada persona can get involved in what's happening in their community, what's happening in their interest area. And Rebecca and I just wanted to share some of those things that are a little bit simpler. They're not quite as time consuming. Anybody can do it. And it adds some value and interest to your life. Simple things like, finding out about your neighborhood crime watch. There's ways that you can join your group and your community and help each other keep track of some of the crime activities that are happening in your community. That's a pretty simple way. As Rebecca was saying, there's other simple ways that you maybe don't even think of as civic engagement, but that's shopping at your local markets, shopping at some of the markets and business and supporting businesses that are locally owned. They're struggling. Everybody's struggling. So when you see a local business, support that business, and then you can feel good about. I spend my dollars helping una empresaria that's just getting started, somebody making tamales, somebody that has a small restaurant. I know I saw a Facebook ad. I live in Murray, and they said, the business owner put up a Facebook announcement because we have a Murray link saying, I just started my business. I'm really struggling. Please come eat at my restaurant. So I went over there. It was delicious. I didn't even know they were there. So supporting your local business is a real simple way. There's animal shelters in some of your neighborhoods. They need volunteers. Maybe that's an interest area of yours. And believe it or not, that's a civic engagement activity, finding out how you can get involved with that. I mean, there's one really fun way, and Rebecca can tell you more about this, is going out and observing nature and local wildlife. She's involved in an organization that encourages to do just that. Maybe she can tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, what I always tell people is find what you're passionate about. So if you're passionate about the outdoors or environment, or you're passionate about care for children, or if you care about the seniors in your community, there are so many organizations that are doing work in these fields, and you can work with those. Representative Wheatley and I belong to an organization called ECHO, Hispanics Enjoying Camping, Hunting, and the Outdoors. And we do a lot of work in terms of public lands preservation, making sure that our land, La Tierra, is there for everyone's enjoyment and safety and care and concern. So that's something we care about. So we work on that. We work with that organization. But one thing that I also wanted to mention, just kind of tag teaming with what Josie said about helping our local businesses and community organizations, is for Christmas, my husband bought gift cards to local restaurants for gifts for us, because he said, let's support the local businesses in ways. I mean, they're struggling, and I know we're doing a lot of takeout, and we care about the chain businesses, but we really care about our little restaurants, our little mercados. And so he tried to what he did is he bought gift cards for us to patronize those businesses. So think about things like that, especially during COVID, how you can help businesses by the things that you normally would do. Other neighbors in my neighborhood in Salt Lake would post on Nextdoor that if there was a neighbor that needed groceries picked up, that they could go pick up groceries or take an order from them, or help them with their snow shoveling, or there's just so many things that neighbors can do, neighbor to neighbor. And then that's when you find out when there's concerns or problems, and you can bring that up to city council or to a community group like a Sierra Club or Heal Utah or Voices for Utah Children or the YWCA, which works with women that are affected by domestic violence. Just so many Neighborhood House, which is a wonderful organization in the west side of Salt Lake that provides programming for seniors and for children. But you start with the things that you care about, and then explore who else is working in this area, who else cares about this area, and then you can work with those community organizations, learn how they advocate, and oh boy, you just learn so much when you become involved in community groups.
Well, that is so true. And it all sounds connected. It's all about service. You think of civic engagement. That's such sounds like a auspicious term, and it's basically serving each other, working together to make our communities better. then we can get a little bit more rowdy, and we can begin to do things like joining a protest or a rally when there's something that you really care about. Show up and voice your pro or your con, that you're against it or you're really for whatever it is, whether it's Black Lives Matter or Latino voting or women's issues or our environment. We've had a lot of those this past year, and many of us have gone and taken the risk of being out there with masks and then with other gente, but getting involved in a protest or a rally is a way to show civic engagement. Voting, the simple act of voting, not only voting yourself, but encouraging your family to register and your friends and your neighbors to register and vote is a very important form of civic engagement. Starting a petition for something or signing a petition. We've had a lot of petitions being signed for boundaries, for our voting district. Yeah, but
redistricting, and we have a new redistricting commission, just because people signed those petitions and we were able to get that particular piece of initiative on the ballot. People voted to establish an independent redistricting commission, and they were just appointed. And so that is something that Utah has never done, but that wouldn't have happened if people hadn't signed those petitions and that got on the ballot, and then they had to vote on that particular piece of legislation, that initiative. Medical marijuana exists in our state primarily because people signed a petition and then voted for that petition. Medicaid expansion, all of these things. Yes, they were changed by the legislature, but because those initiatives were on the ballot and because people signed those petitions, it put pressure on the legislature to adopt those changes. Issues related to the tax reform last year was also affected by people saying, wait a minute, we don't want you changing tax laws. You just did it. We're going to sign a petition to rescind what you've done. And when that pressure came forward, then the legislature changed the law back. They repealed it. But it was because the people signed those petitions, the people got active, and people on across the political spectrum. That's where you see people finding those common issues of concern, and they can be Democrat, Republican, no party, but it's the issue that gets them interested. And I've seen new friendships develop across the political spectrum because people got involved in the issue.
This is true. In fact, I'm going to say, first, acknowledge Susana Perez, who's saying, love you, Josie. And I know Josie loves you back. But also, this thing with the taxes, it was interesting that they're going to raise taxes. That was last year, I think. I'm running on COVID time, I'm sad to say. So it could have been, it's all a blur. But no, but what happened was it's like, what? You're raising taxes, and people were very upset about this. And what's interesting is that when this petition for the, to get the signatures and to actually I don't exactly recall the term, and Rebecca, you would know, but it's a
referendum. Mm-hmm.
It's a referendum. Mm-hmm. And the referendum itself, it needed an X amount of votes, or I'm sorry, signatures from different counties. Mm-hmm. And when it first started, people were told, you need to drop this because you need at least $4 million to make this happen. Mm-hmm. And I said, nope. And the people that actually thought, to put effort into this, it ballooned. I mean, it was, I think that it caught some of the colleagues, your colleagues in the legislature or former colleagues, by surprise, that you had people from different sides of political spectrums coming together and putting together a referendum. That's the power.
And they had to do it in 45 days. With referendums, you have to get those signatures within 45 days, the different locations that you mentioned. And it was in the winter. So they couldn't go out, like sometimes during the summer when you're doing petitions, you go door to door. That was hard to do. And here is again where a business jumped in and mm-hmm. made such a big difference. To give a shout out to Harmon Stores. They said, if you want to come mm-hmm. petition signatures at our stores, we will allow you to do so. So that's what happened. So you had a business that had a vested interest in those tax increases and said, we are allowing the people to use our space to collect those signatures. And I know if that, I really sincerely believe that that hadn't happened, that it would have been much more difficult for them to get the nearly more than 140,000 signatures that they needed to get in order to move that forward. It was something that I've never seen. In my years of advocacy, which is 30 plus, to see that much momentum in that short of time across the political spectrum was definitely different. It was once in a long time seeing something like that. But it shows what happens when people get passionate about something and they gather with people and don't think about, are you Republican, are you Democrat, or whatever? No, we care about this issue and we're going to work together to make it change.
And interestingly enough, it was registered voters. The signatures had to be from registered voters. Well, guess what? I spent some time at a local Harmon's in my neck of the woods, and I registered, I want to say close to 25 people to vote. Just my time just there, like a couple hours here and there, and it was impressive. And some of the people that were volunteering there also registered people to vote or changed the voter registration to reflect the current address, which was also amazing.
I'd like to divert a little bit. It's still about civic engagement and it's still about our community, but this has been my experience over the 30, 40 years that I've been involved in civic involvement, political involvement, and our Latino community. Our Latino community needs to wake up and participate. I've worked year after year after year, you were saying, Antonella, trying to get our Latino community to register to vote, to become involved, to wake up to the power that we have. We've got a good percentage of Latinos living in our community, and a lot of them can vote, but don't.
Oh, wow, Josie, I'm going to join there with you because that's a pet peeve when they start complaining and they haven't registered and they haven't voted. You know, and the thing about it is that this is what we hear because, again, you know, I host a radio show and I also volunteered with LULAC. But what the thing that I would hear is, you know what, my vote's not going to make a difference. Or, you know, I'm not political. I'm not interested in that. Those are the most common things that I hear. Sorry, Josie.
No, thank you so much. Es tan importante, es clave to wake up and know that our Latino community can sway things. Rebecca and I and you, we've been involved in organizations that started because one or two people said, we need this. And then we started an organization and it began to take hold and actually grew. But one of the things that we've have fought over the years is how do we get our Latino community, our Latinas and our Latinos interested in what's happening? And I can tell you that when my husband first ran for office, he was the non-Mormon, the non-Republican, the new guy on the block, and a Latino. And a lot of people said, you know, I don't know about this. But we organized our gente together and we knocked on doors, and there were only, I don't know, a dozen of us doing this. But we gelled together and we ended up winning over the person who was born in our neighborhood, was LDS, was Republican, was a man, was known in his community. And it was because a few of us registered to vote, got involved, made it happen, and then we had a voice in the legislature. We can do it because it's important for the future of our children. As Rebecca was saying, when you have just one point of view, which we do have in the legislature and frankly in a lot of our cities and counties, our communities are not well served. I know years ago I started an organization trying to get Latina women involved in politics, and as a result of that, we did get several that ran for various offices. Did you know that to be president, you really only need to be 35 years old and a citizen of the United States? To run for governor, it's the requirements are not very much. We have
never mind.
We have so much power si nos juntamos y nos unimos.
And the thing is, you're right. I mean, this is the kind of thing that supporting, that support to be able to, if you see a candidate that 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 is espousing what you'd like to see passed, and it'd be great to volunteer in a campaign, door knocking. I'm sure, Rebecca and Josie, that you're aware that the volunteering thing is priceless in campaigns, and also in looking at issues and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Rebecca knows, without volunteers, and that's one way of civic engagement, it doesn't happen. Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
Well, and I was going to bring up, if you're interested in maybe running for office, which we really like to encourage people to step into the fray and just do it. Like Josie said, to be president, you only need to be 35 years old as a citizen. And it's younger for local office. I always encourage people to get involved in campaigns before they decide to run, because then you learn what goes into running a campaign. You learn about what's expected, because as Josie mentions, when you serve in office, it is a lot of hard work. So you know what to expect. You learn about the issues that the neighborhood cares about by helping other people run for office. And it's, when people say, well, it doesn't make a difference, we have so many examples of colleagues of mine. I'll just note it, thinking recently, Suzanne Harrison, who ran a few years ago, and she lost her first race by 5 votes. 5 votes, she lost her race. So you can make a difference. 1 vote makes a difference. A family worth of voters would have made a difference in that particular race. She subsequently won and is now in office. But, when people say it doesn't make a difference, it does make a difference. And this is a battle that's not going to be won. I mean, what I'm getting at is it's a constant effort. And, I'm so excited about seeing all of the young leaders that we have in our community that have run for office and have been elected. Rosalba Dominguez, who is a city councilwoman in Murray, who is a good friend of Josie and Mark's, and she saw them, their involvement, and said, yeah, maybe I can do this. And she did it. And so many others, Arlene Anderson, who just got elected as a school board member up in Ogden. Again, same situation, saw something that needed to be changed, thought, maybe I'm going to do this. And she did, and she won. And we just have to keep supporting our gente that are running for these various offices, and know that it is a long journey. It's, we're always going to be fighting. We're always, we're going to get pushed back, and then we move forward again. We get pushed back a little bit less farther back, and then we move a little bit more forward. And I think maybe that's why some people get discouraged, as they expect, okay, well, I'm going to vote this year, or I've voted for the last 10 or 15 years, and there's still problems. There's always going to be problems because of who we are, and, how systemic racism and oppression exists in institutions in our community. So we're always going to be fighting, but we make the change by always being persistent, and always pushing forward and supporting individuals that want to step forward and make a difference in our community. So it's going to be an ongoing battle, but you can't let up. You can't let up.
And it's always going to be there. Wow. It's quite, there's so much that we could even talk about this. We could go on for hours. And frankly, if Sylvia let me, I would. But But this is something that is so important because I think, for example, the things that affect your life, a lot of folks are so upset about traffic situations, or, the gigantic pothole. And I'm talking about the ones in Saratoga Springs. So, okay, Saratoga Springs. There was this gigantic thing that I know many of our neighbors, and myself included, had flat tires as a result. And that thing just stayed there and nothing happened until a bunch of us started calling city council. We called the mayor's office. I think that I became a pest. And what it means is not that I was rude, not because, again, Rebecca, it would be wonderful if you could share that with us so that we can publish it, because frankly, the way that you address people is not, you're going to say, you're crazy and don't do anything. You guys are lazy. Not the way to go about it. And it changed. You need to understand that, yes, things are going on at the federal level, but we're talking about your livelihood here, your life. Latinos during COVID, here's an example. We had at one point close to 40% or more of the cases of COVID when we were only 14% of the population. And statistically, that's horrible. But what happened is that people making decisions, we didn't have representation. And when we don't have representation, you have to understand this is about your life. So at this point, it's one of these things where we get passionate about. I know, wow, Josie, the years I've co-chaired with Josie, I've worked with her. And let me tell you that she kept me on my toes. I have served with many places with Rebecca, and I have to tell you her insight. And, and she phrases things in a great way that I'm kind of thinking, I probably would have said that very badly.
I'd like to invite our viewers or participants to look into an organization called the Utah State Women's Legislative Council. It's an organization that follows legislation that impacts on women, children, and families. And we meet once a week on Zoom, and we invite legislators to come in and talk to us about an issue. Right now, we're very interested in the issue of that impacts women that have restraining orders, and how that impacts their life. But we look at everything from taxes to education, because to everything, to air quality, because it impacts our families. And anybody that wants information, I invite them to get in contact with me. We're having a meeting right now that I'm missing because I'm participating on this. But today we're addressing mental health issues and the mental health crisis, the suicide level that is impacting our communities. But we vote on supporting or opposing legislation, and then address those issues with the legislators that are sponsoring those bills. And
is
with the
this partisan, Josie? Sorry,
it's nonpartisan, Republican, Democrat, Independent, no party. It doesn't matter. It's nonpartisan. That's very important.
And so then tell us the name of the group again, so that we can get that,
it's the Utah State Women's Legislative Council, and I can provide you with the link information. We have a website, and we put our Zoom information of when we're meeting. The other thing is I sit on the Community Health Clinic Board, and we've been very, very active in following the negative impact of COVID in our diverse communities. But if anybody has any issues, our board has been looking into that. We've been helping with testing at the Maverick Center. We've been, we work. 98% of our patients are Latinos, and we make sure that they have either free healthcare or affordable healthcare. So if anybody has an issue with that, I'm available for that too.
Josie, I will interrupt you because we have one more comment, because we're at the top of the hour and we want to make sure that we wrap this up. But we have our friend Jose in Clan. Jose says, I'm pretty concerned about the proposed tax on hybrid electric cars. I understand revenue that comes from gas helps keep roads, etc. However, our air quality is literally killing us. what is the best way to approach our legislators about this? Are there any groups that we can support working on this? Isn't there another way to get that revenue?
Rebecca.
So, Jose, I posted in the chat utahcleanenergy.org. That's an organization that is working to see if they can stall or oppose or stop this legislation. I would look at their website and connect with them and find what their talking points are, identified legislators that they're trying to target to see if we can hold this back. Because yes, I totally agree. It's ill-advised, and there are a number of people that feel that it goes way too far in terms of disincentivizing what we've been trying to do, which is get people to use more fuel-efficient vehicles and more fuel-efficient ways to transit, to move around our community. And for some of these vehicles, it's going to be upwards of $200 to $300 more in every year that they have to pay for fees because of the impact. But that would be that's who I would turn to initially, is Utah Clean Energy, and see what they're planning in terms of advocacy and targeted legislators.
And we put those on the chat. Thank you for that comment. And we have one more comment here, and this is from our friend Lidio Sanchez. And Lidio she's tremendous. She's amazing. Lidio, by the way, translates to Lily in English. So thank you, because like it was said, representation matters. As a Latina, to see 3 powerful Latinas in leadership positions and hear your stories has been inspiring, and a great reminder to continue to push and be a voice for our community. Lidio, fantastic comment. Thank you. Josie, we have here the website for the women, the Utah women. I think you said it was, let's see. I have it there. I just want to make sure that we have that correct. It's the Utah State Women's Legislative Council. Mm-hmm. And so we want to ensure that folks do know how to get in touch if you want to participate. Also, I do have here the website that Rebecca shared, utahcleanenergy.org, and I'm just making sure that this is appearing on the screen so that those of you who are listening to us after this broadcast has ended, you have access to these resources. And again, this has been a pleasure for me to share space with these incredible women. We are at the top, a little bit over the top of the hour. In closing, Rebecca, Josie, anything that you'd like us to know or leave us with?
I think the one thing that I would remind folks is to reach out to us, to Antonella or Josie or myself or anybody else that you see in the community that's doing the work. We're happy to mentor. We're happy to give you, like you said, Jose asked, who should I contact? And I always call it the contact list in my head, the Rolodex in my head. And I think about who they could follow up with. And we all have those resources. So don't hesitate to reach out to any of us or others that you see in the community and ask for advice, ask for counsel, ask for recommendations.
And again, they're on Facebook as well, and they're happy to chat, and they're members of different groups, as I understand. Josie, any parting comments?
Sigan luchando, arriba y adelante.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you again, and we appreciate these fantastic women with the comments that you had. We have another email here, Rebecca, if this is yours, correct? So I will go ahead and share that with you all to make sure that you have it, and be able to write to Rebecca if you so wish. We have a correction here from Rebecca on her email. It's just hard to see, on the screen as we're doing this, but here we go. Because it's not nonprofit. So yeah. Again, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing with us your insights and about civic engagement and legislation. And we want to thank you to a shout out to those of you who tuned in and are tuning in after the fact. We thank you, and we will see you here soon at the Suazo Business Center. Thank you.